The silver tray felt heavier than usual, not because of the champagne flutes balanced on its surface, but because I was serving the very people who had spent years telling me I'd never be more than a ghost in their hallways. The Riverside Plaza Hotel ballroom in Manhattan was everything a society wedding should be. Cascading florals that cost more than my monthly rent. A string quartet playing Vivaldi. 200 guests dressed in designer labels I'd only seen in magazines while scrubbing toilets in their penthouses. I'd left Maya with Keisha 4 hours ago, my 6-year-old daughter's disappointed face etched into my memory. She'd wanted to come to wear the pink dress we'd found at the discount store, to see the pretty wedding. But Keisha, my neighbor and lifesaver, had convinced me otherwise. Black tie events and first graders didn't mix well, especially when your mother was working the event as hired help. Better to keep Maya home where she could watch her cartoons and avoid the humiliation that would inevitably rain down on me. The humiliation had started the moment I clocked in at 5:30. The event coordinator had looked me up and down, her lip curling slightly at my server's uniform, black and white and utterly unremarkable. I was invisible by design, hired through an agency that specialized in discreet staff for elite events. Discreet meaning we knew how to pretend we didn't exist. But invisibility shattered the moment I approached table 7 with my tray of champagne. Because there, surrounded by Manhattan's wealthiest, sat Marcus. My ex-partner. The man who'd walked out the day I told him I was pregnant, who'd called me a mistake, who'd married someone from his own social circle 8 months later. His new wife, Catherine, sat beside him in a gown that probably cost what I made in 6 months of double shifts. Champagne. My voice came out steady despite the earthquake in my chest. Marcus looked up and I watched recognition flash across his face, followed by something worse. Amusement. Well, Irene. His smile was sharp enough to draw blood. Still working, I see. How fitting. Catherine's eyes widened. This is her? The one you? Yes. Marcus took a champagne flute from my tray without looking at me. The pediatric nurse who thought she could trap me with a pregnancy. Clearly, she found her proper station. My hand shook. The crystal glasses trembled on the tray. I should walk away. Should maintain my professional silence and disappear back into the kitchen. But 6 years of swallowed pride, of working 3 jobs to provide for Maya, of being treated like I was nothing, surged up my throat. I didn't trap you, Marcus. I simply told you the truth. You're the one who ran. Ran? He laughed, loud enough to draw attention from nearby tables. I made a choice. I wasn't about to ruin my life because of a nurse's accident. Look at you now. Serving drinks at events you could never afford to attend. Where's the kid? Finally realized you couldn't handle it? The words hit like physical blows. My vision blurred at the edges. I opened my mouth to respond, to defend myself, to tell him that Maya was the best thing that ever happened to me, that I worked myself to exhaustion every day to give her a life worth living. That's enough. The voice came from behind me, low and cold and absolutely commanding. The entire ballroom seemed to quiet, conversations dying mid-sentence, heads turning. I felt him before I saw him, a presence that made the air feel heavier, more dangerous. Then he stepped around me and I understood why the room had gone silent. The man was terrifying and elegant. Tall, broad-shouldered, dressed in a suit that probably cost more than my car. His face was all sharp angles and cold control, with dark eyes that looked like they could calculate your net worth and your life expectancy in the same glance. I'd seen him earlier, standing near the back of the ceremony, surrounded by men who looked like they earned their living through violence. Even the event coordinator had whispered his name with fear. Korean Mafia. Real power. The kind of man who didn't attend weddings, he graced them with his presence. And now he was staring at Marcus like he was deciding which bones to break first. This woman, Insa said, his accent slight but noticeable, is clearly working an honest job. While you sit here, living off family money, insulting the mother of your child. Tell me, which of you has more honor? Marcus paled. I don't know who you think you are. I know exactly who I am. Insa's smile was a blade. The question is, do you know who you are? A small man who abandoned his responsibilities and now mocks the woman who handles them alone. The surrounding tables had gone completely silent. Catherine looked like she wanted to sink through the floor. Marcus's face flushed red, but he didn't speak. Couldn't, probably, with Insa's dark eyes fixed on him like a predator selecting prey. Then Insa turned to me and his expression shifted. Not soft, exactly, but less lethal. He reached out and gently took the tray from my shaking hands, setting it on the nearest table. Set this down, he said quietly, for my ears only. Then louder so the entire ballroom could hear, you don't serve tonight. Sir, I'm working. I can't just. He held out his hand, palm up, an invitation and a command. Dance with me. I stared at his hand like it was a live grenade. What? Dance with me. His voice dropped lower, intimate despite the audience. Pretend you're my wife. Just for tonight. Let me give you back what they tried to take. It was insane. Impossible. I should refuse, should return to the kitchen, should remember my place in the carefully ordered hierarchy of wealth and power. But something in his eyes, some recognition of the anger and hurt I'd been swallowing for years, made me do something I'd never done before. I took his hand. The ballroom erupted in whispers as Insa led me to the dance floor. The string quartet, reading the room with professional precision, shifted into a waltz. His hand settled on my waist, warm through the cheap fabric of my uniform, while his other hand held mine with surprising gentleness. I don't know how to dance like this, I whispered, panic rising. Then follow my lead. I've got you. And he did. He guided me through the steps with effortless confidence, and somehow my body followed, even though my mind was screaming that this couldn't be real. Around us, the elite of Manhattan watched with expressions ranging from shock to fascination. Marcus looked like he'd swallowed glass. Why are you doing this? I asked as we turned. Because I've been watching you all evening. Watching you work with dignity while surrounded by people who don't deserve to breathe the same air. Watching that man humiliate you. And I decided I'd seen enough. You don't know me. No. But I know your type. Strong. Resilient. The kind of woman who survives despite the world trying to break her. His eyes met mine. Also, I need a favor. Reality crashed back in. Of course. Men like him didn't rescue women like me out of kindness. What kind of favor? The kind we should discuss in private. After this song ends, you'll leave with me. We'll talk. And then you'll decide if you want to help each other. The song ended before I could respond. Insu released me but kept my hand, turning to face the room with the casual authority of a king addressing his court. This woman is now under my protection, he announced, his voice carrying to every corner of the ballroom. I trust that's clear. No one spoke. No one dared. Then Insa led me off the dance floor, through the stunned crowd, and out into the hotel corridor. His security detail materialized around us, silent and efficient. One of them handed him a phone, which he ignored, keeping his attention on me. My car is waiting. We should talk somewhere more private. I should say no. I should run back to my normal life and forget this ever happened. But I thought of Maya, of the bills stacking up, of Marcus's cruel smile, and I heard myself say, okay. The car was a Mercedes, black and gleaming, with windows tinted dark enough to hide anything. Insu held the door for me, a gesture so at odds with his dangerous presence that it made me pause. You're safe with me, he said, reading my hesitation. I protect what's mine. And right now, for better or worse, you're mine. I got in the car. The interior smelled like leather and expensive cologne. Insa settled beside me, and the driver pulled away from the hotel without needing directions. We drove in silence for several minutes, Manhattan lights streaming past the windows, before Insu finally spoke. I need a wife. I blinked. Excuse me? Not a real one. A performance. A woman who can stand beside me at events, appear in photographs, convince certain people in my organization that I've achieved the stability they require of their leaders. Why me? Because you're perfect. You're not from my world, which means you're not connected to my enemies. You're a mother, which suggests maturity and reliability. And most importantly, you need something I can provide. Money, I said flatly. Security. For you and your daughter. Financial, legal, physical. In exchange, you attend events with me, live in my home, and play the role of Mrs. Insakong for 1 year. That's insane. Yes. It's also practical. I've been researching you since I noticed you tonight. Irene Matthews. Pediatric nurse at Mount Sinai. Single mother. Working 2 jobs to afford a 1-bedroom apartment in the Bronx. Behind on student loans. Ex-partner who provides no support. Am I missing anything? The fact that he knew all this should terrify me. Instead, I felt something else. Relief, maybe, that someone finally saw how hard I was trying. What happens after a year? You leave with enough money to secure your daughter's future. College fund. Trust. Whatever you want. Plus, I handle any legal issues with your ex permanently. And if I say no? Then you go back to your life and we never speak again. But I think you're smarter than that. I think you know an opportunity when you see one. I thought of Maya, asking why we couldn't go to the zoo because it cost too much. Of the eviction notice I'd received last week. of Marcus's smug face as he mocked me for being exactly what I was, a woman trying to survive. I need to think about it. You have until tomorrow. Here. He handed me a business card, black with silver lettering. Just a phone number, no name. Call me by noon. Or don't. Your choice. The car stopped outside my apartment building, shabby and small compared to the wealth I'd just left. Insa's driver opened my door. One more thing, Insa said as I stepped out. If you agree, your daughter will be protected. Always. I don't make promises I can't keep. I took the card and went inside, my mind spinning. Keisha met me at my apartment door, Maya asleep on her shoulder. How'd it go? She whispered. I looked at the card in my hand, at my daughter's peaceful face, at the life I'd built through sheer will and endless work. Then I thought of another life. A safer one. One where Maya didn't have to understand why we couldn't afford things. I'll tell you tomorrow, I said. That night I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Insa's dark gaze, felt his hand on my waist, and heard his promise of protection. By dawn I'd made my decision. At 11:30 I called the number. He answered on the first ring. Yes or no? Yes. But I have conditions. Name them. Maya comes first. Always. And she never sees violence. Whatever world you live in, she stays separate from it. Agreed. And when the year ends, you let us go. No strings. Agreed. Anything else? I keep my job at the hospital. I'm not giving up my career. Acceptable. My car will collect you and Maya tonight at 7. Pack what you need. Everything else will be provided. Tonight? That's too fast. Irene. His voice was gentle but firm. The moment you said yes, you became visible. To my allies and my enemies. Waiting puts you at risk. Trust me to keep you safe. I thought of Marcus, of the wedding, of being seen for the first time in years. Okay. 7 o'clock. Good. Welcome to your new life, Mrs. Calm. He hung up before I could respond, and I stared at my phone, wondering if I'd just made the best decision of my life or the worst. At precisely 7 o'clock, a black SUV pulled up outside my building. Maya clutched my hand, her eyes wide as she took in the vehicle. The driver in a suit, the promise of something beyond our normal reality. Mommy, where are we going? Somewhere new, baby. Somewhere safe. The drive through Manhattan felt surreal. Maya pressed her face to the window, watching the city transform from our neighborhood to something gleaming and untouchable. When we finally stopped, I understood the full scope of what I'd agreed to. The penthouse occupied the top 3 floors of a building in Tribeca. The elevator required a key card just to access it. When the doors opened, I stepped into a space that looked like it belonged in a magazine spread. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Modern furniture that probably cost more than my car. Art on the walls that I recognized from museum visits. Insa stood in the living room, dressed more casually than last night but no less intimidating. When he saw Maya, something in his expression softened. You must be Maya. My daughter hid behind my legs, suddenly shy. Hi. I'm Insu. Your mom and I are going to be working together. This is your new home, at least for a while. Do you like it? Maya peeked around me, taking in the space with 6-year-old wonder. It's big. It is. Would you like to see your room? He led us through the penthouse, past a kitchen that looked like a chef's dream, past a living area with a view that made my breath catch, to a bedroom that made Maya gasp. It was every little girl's fantasy. A canopy bed with pink curtains. Shelves full of books and toys. A window seat overlooking the city. This is mine. Maya whispered. All yours, Insa confirmed. Your mom's room is next door, connected by that door there. So she's never far away. Maya ran to explore, and I found myself alone with Insu in the hallway. You didn't have to do all this. Yes, I did. She's part of the arrangement. And children should feel safe in their homes. This isn't our home. It's yours. For the next year, it's all of ours. You should see your room. My bedroom was elegant and sophisticated, with its own bathroom and a closet that already held clothes in my size. I turned to Insu, questions piling up. How did you? I have resources. You'll learn to accept them. Now we should discuss the rules. We sat in his study, Maya safely occupied with her new toys, and Insu laid out the parameters of our arrangement. Public appearances together. A wedding ring I'd wear starting tomorrow. A story we'd tell about how we met. And absolute discretion about the true nature of our relationship. No one can know this is fake, he said. Not your friends, not your family. As far as the world is concerned, we're married and in love. That's a lot of lying. That's survival. In my world, weakness gets you killed. A wife and child make me look stable, committed, and human. It's armor disguised as vulnerability. And what do I get besides money? He looked at me for a long moment. Protection. Real protection. Your ex will never bother you again. Your debts disappear. Your daughter grows up safe. Is that not enough? It was more than enough. It was everything I'd been fighting for. But sitting in that expensive study, watching this dangerous man promise me safety, I felt like I was trading one kind of cage for another. I wanted in writing. A contract. Already drafted. He pulled out a folder, and I spent the next hour reading through pages of legal language that essentially confirmed everything he'd said. At the end I signed. So did he. Welcome to the family, Mrs. Mcsame. The first week was surreal. Maya adjusted faster than I did, delighted by her new school, new toys, new life. I kept my shifts at the hospital, though now I arrived in a car service instead of the subway. My coworkers noticed the change, the ring on my finger, the transformation from struggling single mom to mysteriously well-off married woman. You got married? Dr. Chen asked, cornering me in the break room. To who? Someone I met recently. It happened fast. Must have. Last week you were picking up extra shifts. This week you're wearing Cartier. I looked down at the wedding band Insu had given me. White gold, elegant, expensive. Love works in mysterious ways. It was easier to sell the lie than I expected. Maybe because part of me wanted it to be true. I wanted to believe that someone like Insu could see someone like me and decide I was worth protecting. The reality check came on Friday, when Insu told me he was visiting the hospital. Why? Because my wife works there. People need to see us together, see that this is real. He arrived during my lunch break, causing a minor sensation. Nurses whispered. Security stiffened. Even the doctors looked nervous as this clearly dangerous man walked through the pediatric ward like he owned it. There's my wife, he said loud enough for everyone to hear, then kissed my cheek with convincing affection. You're causing a scene, I muttered. That's the point. We had lunch in the cafeteria, surrounded by curious stares. Insu played the role of devoted husband perfectly, asking about my day, touching my hand, looking at me like I mattered. It should have felt fake. Instead, it felt dangerously real. After lunch, one of my young patients, a 7-year-old named Thomas recovering from surgery, asked to meet the scary man. Insu knelt beside his bed, and I watched his entire demeanor shift. The coldness vanished, replaced by genuine warmth. I'm not that scary, Insu said. My mom says you look like a movie villain. Your mom is very observant. But movie villains are usually just misunderstood. They talked about superheroes and video games for 10 minutes, and I saw a side of Insu I hadn't known existed. Gentle, patient, almost paternal. When we left, he was quiet. You're good with kids, I said in the car. I like children. They're honest. Did you want your own? Before this arrangement. He looked at me and something flickered in his eyes. I never thought I'd live long enough to be a father. Men in my position rarely get happy endings. The vulnerability in that statement made my chest ache. Before I could respond, his phone rang. He answered in Korean, his expression darkening. What is it? I asked when he hung up. A complication. Nothing you need to worry about. But I did worry. Because that night, while Maya and I were eating dinner, Insu arrived home with blood on his knuckles. It's not mine, he said when he saw my expression. Whose is it? People who needed a reminder about boundaries. It's handled. He disappeared into his room and I sat with Maya, my appetite gone. This was the reality of my choice. The safety Insu provided came with violence I couldn't see but couldn't ignore. 2 weeks later, the first real test came. I was at my old apartment, collecting the last of our things when they found me. 3 men blocking the hallway looking at me with predatory interest. You're Insu's new wife. It wasn't a question. I reached for my phone but one of them grabbed my wrist. He thought he could hide behind a woman and a child. Thought it would make him untouchable. But all it did was give us a target. Fear spiked through me. Let me go. Not until we send a message. Nothing personal, sweetheart. Just business. The one holding me raised his fist, and I had time to think this was it. This was the price of protection before the world exploded into violence. Insu's security team appeared like avenging angels, moving with brutal efficiency. The men who'd threatened me were on the ground in seconds, and then Insu himself was there, his expression absolutely murderous. You touched her. The words were quiet. Lethal. Boss, we didn't know. You touched my wife. What happened next was savage. I looked away but I couldn't unhear the sounds, the brutal efficiency of Insu's rage. When it was over, he came to me, blood on his clothes, concern in his eyes. Are you hurt? I shook my head, mute. Good. We're leaving. This building is no longer safe. In the car I finally found my voice. Who were they? Rivals. The Snakehead Syndicate. They've been looking for weakness ever since I took over the Eastern Territories. Apparently they think you're it. Maybe this was a mistake. Maybe I should. No. His voice was sharp. You're not going anywhere. They came after you because of me, which means I protect you. Always. That's the deal. The deal was supposed to be fake. This is too real. Life is real, Irene. The danger, the protection, all of it. You agreed to be my wife. That means something in my world, whether we're in love or not. We drove in silence to the penthouse, where Maya waited with the nanny Insu had hired. When she saw me, she ran over and I held her tight, breathing in her shampoo, grounding myself in what mattered. That night, after Maya was asleep, I found Insu in his study. I need to know it's safe. For her. It is. I've tripled security. Added protocols. The snakeheads will receive a message they can't ignore. What kind of message? The kind that ends wars before they start. I should have been horrified. Instead, I felt something closer to gratitude. Because for the first time in my life, someone was fighting for me. Not just offering help, but actively, violently protecting what was mine. The next morning, Maya asked if we could go to the park. Insu surprised us both by offering to come along. We spent the afternoon like a normal family, pushing Maya on swings, buying ice cream, pretending we were exactly what we looked like. At one point, Maya ran ahead to the playground and Insu and I sat on a bench together. She's starting to like you, I said. Is that allowed? I don't know. Is it? He looked at me and something shifted in his expression. I bought her something. I wasn't sure if I should give it to you or her. What is it? That evening he presented Maya with a child-sized violin, beautiful and perfect. Her eyes went wide. I heard you humming yesterday, Insu said. Thought you might like to learn. Maya looked at me for permission and I nodded, my throat tight. She threw her arms around Insu's neck, and I watched this dangerous man hold my daughter with infinite gentleness. Thank you, she whispered. You're welcome, little one. That night, I heard the violin through our connected rooms, Maya attempting her first notes with determined concentration. And I realized I was in serious trouble. Because this wasn't supposed to be real. The marriage, the protection, the family dynamic, none of it. But it was starting to feel more real than anything I'd experienced before. The fragile peace shattered 3 weeks later when a courier arrived with legal documents. Custody papers. Marcus, apparently emboldened by rumors of my new marriage, was suing for joint custody of Maya. I read the papers with shaking hands. He wanted 50% custody, claiming I denied him access to his daughter, that my new lifestyle proved I was unfit, that Maya deserved a stable home with 2 married parents. He abandoned her, I said to Insu, my voice breaking. He wanted nothing to do with her for 6 years. And now that I'm with you, now that there's money involved, he wants to play father. He won't win. You don't know that. He has lawyers. He has money. He has a marriage that looks more legitimate than ours. Insu took the papers from my hands and set them aside. I told you I'd handle any legal issues with your ex. I meant it. How? This is family court. You can't just. Trust me. 2 days later, Marcus arrived at Insu's office for a meeting. I wasn't there, but Insu told me about it afterward, his voice calm, clinical. I showed him evidence of his abandonment. His own text messages saying he wanted nothing to do with you or the baby. Witnesses who could testify to his neglect. And then I made him an offer. What kind of offer? He signs away all parental rights, agrees to never contact you or Maya again, and I don't destroy his reputation and his marriage by making his abandonment public. He'll send a cashier's check for 6 years of back child support, and then he'll disappear from your lives. Forever. My hands were shaking. He agreed? He had no choice. Men like him are cowards. They only fight when they think they can win. Did you threaten him? I presented facts and consequences. What he did with that information was his decision. I should have asked more questions. Should have been concerned about Insu's methods. Instead, I felt a fierce, primal satisfaction. Marcus was gone. Maya was safe. And I had a protector who would burn the world down to keep us that way. Thank you, I whispered. You don't thank me for protecting my family. The words hit me like a physical blow. My family. Not my arrangement or my contract. My family. That night, Insu had a formal gala to attend. Our first major public appearance as a married couple. I wore a gown he'd had made for me, emerald green silk that made me feel like someone else entirely. Maya helped me with my makeup, her small hands careful as she applied lipstick. "You look like a princess, Mommy. Just for tonight, baby." The gala was at the plaza, filled with the kind of people I'd only ever seen from a distance. Wealthy, powerful, dangerous. Insu kept me close, his hand on my waist, introducing me as his wife with casual possessiveness. "This is Irene. My everything." People smiled and congratulated us, but I could see the calculation in their eyes. Wondering who I was. What I brought to this marriage. Why would a man like Insu choose a woman like me? We were on the dance floor when it happened. I saw the man moving through the crowd, his hand reaching inside his jacket. Time slowed. I saw the gun. Saw him raise it toward Insu. I didn't think so. I just moved. I shoved Insu aside as the gun went off, the sound deafening in the elegant ballroom. The bullet meant for him hit the wall behind us. Security tackled the shooter. Chaos erupted. Insu pulled me to the ground, covering me with his body, and in that moment I realized something crucial. I just saved his life. I'd just chosen definitively to protect him the way he'd been protecting me. "Are you insane?" he demanded when we were safe in his car, speeding away from the scene. "He was going to kill you. So you threw yourself in front of a bullet?" "Yes." He stared at me like I'd revealed something fundamental. "Why?" "Because you're Maya's protector. Because you made my ex disappear. Because you bought my daughter a violin and held her with gentleness I didn't know you possessed. Because somewhere in the last 2 months, this fake marriage started feeling real. Because you're my husband," I said instead. The word hung between us, heavy with meaning. Insu reached out and cupped my face, his thumb brushing my cheek. "This wasn't supposed to be real," he said quietly. "I know. The contract ends in 10 months. I know. But I don't want you to leave." My breath caught. "Insu, I don't want this to be fake anymore. I don't want to pretend. I want you to be my wife. Really. And I want to be Maya's father. Really. And I want this family we've built to be the truth instead of a performance." Tears burned my eyes. "This is your world. It's dangerous. Tonight proved that. And you saved me anyway. That's not fake, Irene. That's real. That's everything." The car stopped outside the penthouse. Inside, Maya waited with the nanny. Our daughter. Our home. Our life that had started as a transaction and evolved into something neither of us expected. "What are you asking me?" I whispered. "I'm asking you to tear up the contract. To marry me for real. To let this be what it's already become." I thought of the woman I'd been 2 months ago, serving champagne at a wedding, invisible and broken. I thought of the woman I was now, protected and valued and seen. And I thought of Maya, who called Insu Papa, when she thought I wasn't listening. "Yes," I said. "Yes to all of it." He kissed me then, and it wasn't for show. It wasn't for cameras or contracts. It was real, and it was ours, and it was everything I never knew I needed. When we went inside, Maya ran to us and Insu lifted her into his arms. "Papa, you're home. Did you have fun at the fancy party?" He looked at me over her head, his eyes holding promises and futures and a love I never saw coming. "Yes, little one. I had the best night of my life." That night, after Maya was asleep, Insu and I sat in the living room overlooking Manhattan. He held my hand, his thumb tracing circles on my ring finger. "I'm going to do this properly," he said. "A real proposal. A real wedding. Everything you deserve. I don't need fancy. But I want to give it to you anyway. You stopped being an arrangement the moment you walked into my life. You became everything." I leaned against his shoulder, feeling safe in a way I'd never experienced before. I was invisible for so long. A maid. A nurse. A struggling single mother. No one saw me. I see you. I see your strength, your love for your daughter, your courage. I see all of it, and it's magnificent. Even the parts that are broken? Especially those. They made you who you are. We sat in comfortable silence, watching the city lights, two people who'd found each other in the most unexpected way. A mafia boss and a single mother. A contract that became a promise. A fake marriage that turned into real love. "Thank you," I whispered. "For seeing me. For protecting us. For becoming Maya's father when she needed one." "Thank you," he replied, "for saving my life. For choosing to stay. For making me believe I could be more than just what I do." And in that moment I understood something fundamental. I wasn't a ghost anymore. I wasn't invisible. I was seen, valued, protected, and loved. I was Irene Kong, wife to a dangerous man and mother to a beautiful daughter. I was finally completely alive. The pretending was over. This was real. This was ours. This was everything.